Johnny were sweethearts.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Animation Pilgrimage. I'm Sean.
And I'm Tennille.
And today we are talking about the shorts from the 1950s. Yay. Now, we're going to do this one in a bit of a different format than we did last time we went over shorts. Instead, we're just going to list off all the shorts that we watched, and then we're going to get more into just like a general discussion of all of these shorts as compared to doing like a super breakdown of each individual short.
Yes, because there's a couple reasons why we're doing it this way. One is I feel like breaking down short by short just kind of lengthens the video, and I don't want this to be another two-parter like the way the 40s was.
Mm-hmm.
Another reason we're doing it this way, though, for this decade is because there's actually not a whole lot to say about the shorts themselves, but the context in which these shorts were made is much more interesting to me. So I think I want to just kind of open up a discussion about that. And another reason is because out of all of these shorts that, you know, people are going to be likely to have watched before, you know, like the 30s and 40s shorts, those are old enough and like just not modern enough that yeah, nobody really watches them anymore unless you're like us and you're looking back for the history, or you know, you had grandparents who enjoyed these shorts and yada yada yada. But these 50 shorts stick around. Like, they've stuck around. They've kind of held like past the test of time a bit. Yeah. So if people are familiar with any of the shorts we've covered so far, it's probably going to be these.
And I guess one last reason we're doing it this way is because we are focusing on the movies here on Animation Pilgrimage. This is more so, we want to talk about what else is going on at the time, but this is not the focus of what we're doing here. Yeah,
and I guess
another reason.
This isn't another reason, but this is just another thing to point out. We did not cover all the shorts of the 50s. This is just like the cream of the crop, a select few.
Because there's a lot of shorts in the 50s.
Not as many as there were in the 40s.
Well, yeah, that's one thing to bring up, is the fact that shorts are dying out.
I looked at the Disney list of shorts that were produced in the 40s and then shorts that were produced in the 50s, and you want to know what the drop was?
More than half?
More than half.
It was
more than half. It was more than half.
Okay.
But yeah, it was like in the 40s there was 94 shorts produced by Walt Disney Studios.
Was there only like 9 or 40?
40, exactly 40.
Wow, so yeah, slightly more than half drop. Holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't look what it was for Warner Brothers, or UPA.
But they really didn't get started until this decade, right?
Sort of. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Anyway, though, let's go over the list of shorts we watched. And I'm going to go over them in order of decade. So, like, when they were released.
Chronological order first. And then we're going to talk more specifically about
what studio did what shorts and go from there.
Okay.
So, first in 1950, we talked about Motor Mania, which was directed by Jack Kenny.
You said talked about. We haven't talked about it yet.
We watched.
There you go.
Motor Mania, which was directed by Jack Kenny. And it's a Goofy short, where Goofy, like, is talking about, like, he turns into, like, a Mr. Jekyll and Hyde kind of parody, where when he's in the car, he gets crazy, but when he's outside of his car,
he gets a case of road rage.
Yeah. He becomes Mr. Wheeler.
Yeah, that's the words they used.
Yeah. And then we watched, also from 1950, Rabbit of Seville. This is a insanely popular Warner Brothers short. It's Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd at the opera, and Bugs is tormenting Elmer Fudd by doing the whole Barber
of Seville
shtick. Yeah. Rudy Toot Toot, which was directed by John Hubley. And this is our first UPA short, and this is 1951.
Okay.
So we can finally get into UPA at 1951, and this was Rudy Toot Toot. Do you remember this one?
Yes, this was an interesting one. It was a murder trial.
A musical murder trial.
A musical murder trial. Honestly, even though I've never seen it, this just made me think of Chicago.
Oh, yeah. It's very Chicago.
Like, a chick is on trial for killing her
boyfriend, husband,
something.
I don't remember if they clarified the status of their relationship, and I don't really care.
Don't know, but I mean it's just like multiple people telling it how it happened and stuff, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a courtroom drama. No Smoking, which was also directed by Jack Kenny, also 1951. This is very similar to the Motormania one because it's also goofy and it's also kind of a lesson, kind of
like a preachy kids be wary type of thing.
Right, except it ends, well, the whole thing is about Goofy trying to give up smoking, and at the end he can't quit smoking and he gets more cigars and cigarettes and stuff, so it's actually kind of depressing.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yup.
I want to lay down an interesting fact about this one because this is a fact I don't have written down, so I want to make sure I remember this. At one point in the short's history, I think during the 80s or 90s, they actually reanimated a different ending to that short.
Did they?
Yes, to make it so Goofy did
stop.
quit smoking and encouraged others to do the same. But now, of course, people are like, well, that's not really being honest. You should just play it as it was. Because it's still very much an anti-smoking message.
It's just don't ever start.
Right.
Yeah. It's more so don't ever start as compared to
find a way to quit.
Yeah.
So then after that one, also 1951, we have Gerald McBoing Boing by Robert Cannon.
Also UPA.
And
it's about a little kid that doesn't speak words. He just makes
onomatopoeias.
Sound effects.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. And everybody makes fun of him. And then he gets a job.
Until they don't, because capitalism.
Yeah. Oh, you can make money off this kid making sound effects on the radio. And now he's rich. And everybody loves him.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a lot to say when we come back to that one. 1952, we go back to Warner Brothers for both Feed the Kitty and Rabbit Seasoning, which are two super classic Warner Brothers shorts, also directed by Chuck Jones. One is a classic Daffy and Bugs short, and then the other is
rabbit season. It's duck season.
Right, but it doesn't have that. It does have the reverse psychology joke, but it doesn't have that.
That specific one.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was two that did that exact same thing.
Oh, it's like a
trio?
three-parter. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them that do that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The other one.
Oh, right. The other one features Mark Antony, the
bulldog.
Yeah, and the kitten, which I don't know
it wasn't
if it has a
named, at least in this one.
The kitten probably has a name, but I don't know what that name is.
Either way, he's trying to act all tough and stuff, but this kitten's too adorable, and so he takes it home. But he's not allowed to take it home, so he keeps trying to hide it from his owner. Right,
and hijinks ensue, and some of the... that's definitely one of my favorite Looney Tunes shorts. It's got fantastic humor. And then, in 1953, we've got The Unicorn in the Garden by William T. Hertz.
Also from UPA. And a man sees a unicorn in his garden, and he keeps telling his wife, who hates him. And then she's like, you know what, I'm going to call the loony bin, and he's going to get locked up. And then she gets locked up for telling the police all of this stuff. Hooray.
Yeah. This... By the name, The Unicorn in the Garden, I was really hoping for something pleasant. And then this just kind of left me on like a huge sour note. I'm like, oh.
Yep.
Yikes. Also in 1953, we've got Duck Amuck by Chuck Jones at Warner Brothers. And this is like the famous Daffy Duck short where Daffy and the animator are constantly fighting with each other about like the backgrounds, and the animator is erasing Daffy, and there's just a whole bunch of meta jokes, and it's really, really good.
Close up!
Also 1953, we've got another Daffy Duck cartoon with Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century.
And this is where Marvin the Martian is introduced.
Well, not introduced.
Not introduced?
No, he's been in Looney Tunes for a while now, but this is just one of the more popular shorts.
And they're just fighting over Planet X with their various phaser beams and just silly, futuristic, but 60s styled weapons and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty amusing.
And then we skip forward a couple of years. We go to 1955, and we've got one... Oh, wait. That's in the wrong order. Okay, I've got one listed here that says it's from 1955, One Froggy Evening, which is the frog that sings the "Hello, my baby, hello, my honey, hello, my ragtime gal."
And yeah, so this random guy finds it, and he's like, I'm going to make money off of this, except the frog never does any of this when anyone else is looking at it, so it only ever dances and sings for him, and he ends up in a loony bin eventually, and he's like, you know what, I'm done, and he throws it back into the construction zone that he found it in, and... Yeah.
Thousands of years later, some other poor schmuck comes along, finds the frog, and has the same plan of like, I'm going to make money off of this frog, but yeah. History repeating itself is funny. 1953, The Telltale Heart by Ted Parmerly.
This is a UPA short, and this is a very graphic, graphic isn't like graphic style, not like graphic violent.
Although kind of violent.
Yeah, kind of violent, but you don't really see it.
For 50 standards, pretty violent.
Okay.
Well, and pretty spooky. Like...
Oh, yeah, it's straight up just a narrator reading The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe with, like, super graphic, cool imagery to go along with it to tell it all.
I hadn't watched this short before we did this video, and wow, I loved this.
This was a fantastic short.
Really good. And if you're a fan of Edgar Allan Poe, you should check this out. It was awesome. 1953, we also have 1953 Toot, Whistle, Pluck, and Boom, which is a history of music done by Disney. This was directed by Ward Kimball and Charles A. Nicholas.
Yeah, and it's pretty much just going over the main musical instrument groups and just kind of like plays on that.
Yeah, it does, like, has some jokes, but mostly
basic history, quote unquote.
Yeah, but it's mostly educational. Then we've got two more UPA shorts. One from 1955, When Magoo Flew. And then in 1956, we have Magoo's Puddle Jumper. And both of these won awards.
Yeah, they were award-winning.
Which is why we chose these Magoo shorts to watch.
Because there's a lot of Magoo. We figured we should cover at least a couple of them.
Yeah.
So when Magoo flew, he thinks he's going to the theater, and yet he actually ends up on an airplane.
That's a huge cost difference.
Yeah, well, he never actually pays for anything.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot about that part.
He just kind of walks in and people just kind of are totally okay with it.
Yeah, he ends up stopping crime.
Smuggling or something?
Yeah, someone's trying to get something to another country through their
briefcase or something.
And Magoo ends up apprehending him, like, completely by accident. And Magoo never realizes that he was on a plane to begin with.
Of course not.
Of course not. He's like, that was an awesome picture.
And then the other one his puddle jumper.
Magoo's puddle jumper.
Yeah, he buys a really old-fashioned car, even by that day's standards.
Yeah.
And he just drives it around and hijinks ensue. At one point he goes underwater. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. 1957, we have Alibaba Bunny, another Chuck Jones short from Warner Brothers. Not as bad as it sounds.
Yeah.
Because the main the main focus is Daffy being greedy.
Greedy, wants all the treasure. There is an Arabian character in this, and it's not great, but it's not like the worst thing ever.
It's not the focal point.
Yeah.
Yeah. The set is just kind of dressing for what's going on, because it's like, oh, well, we need a plot where Bugs Bunny can dress up like a genie, and we need treasure. Mm-hmm. So...
I guess we're doing 1001 Arabian Nights. Again. Everyone has to do it at some point.
I guess so. That being said, I don't think Disney's done it, right?
Tennille.
What?
They did it in the Disney Renaissance.
Well,
Aladdin.
No, I mean Disney hasn't done it up to this point.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's fair. But every company has done it.
Yes.
Eventually.
Yes, eventually. Then we've got 1957, What's Opera, Doc? I love this one. This one's so good. Bugs and Elmer Fudd are at it again. And this time it's a big opera showdown. Mm-hmm. And this one's infamous because at the end, Bugs Bunny actually dies, except he doesn't. Mm-hmm. But it's got like this great fake out ending.
Where you're like, oh crap, Bugs died. Mm-hmm. Bugs lost.
And Elmer Fudd said, I killed a rabbit.
Poor little bunny.
Poor little bunny. But I mean, along with the fake out, it's also got some hilarious animation to go along with it.
I love the fat horse.
The fat horse is my favorite thing.
Okay.
And three more.
Three more still. Wow, okay.
Yeah. So, 1957, The Story of Anyburg, USA.
All right, yes.
This was another semi-preachy
car-based Disney cartoon.
Short. Also a courtroom drama, which we've already seen.
Yep.
But this one is about humanity
blaming cars for all the car crashes and accidents that happen, when in the end it's like, no, it was actually humans driving all the cars. The cars didn't do any of it. It was the humans' fault.
Right. Mankind is the villain.
The villain was man.
The villain was man.
It was man.
Go figure, right? 1957, we also have The Truth About Mother Goose, which was not on any kind of like recommended list or anything like that. I just really, really love this short, so I put it on because this is my show and I can do what I want.
It's true.
But this short is directed by Wolfgang Reitherman and Bill Justice, and it's 3 segments where it's talking about the history of some nursery rhymes.
Mother Goose nursery rhymes, yeah.
Yeah. We've got the Jack Horner.
Sitting in a corner, eating his pie. No, I'm confusing him with Tom Thumb. No, shoot. No!
They all kind of muddle together. It's like little Jack Horner sat in a corner eating his Christmas pie. He stuck in his thumb, pulled out a plum, said, what a good boy am I.
Yes.
And then it talks about the history of that, and then it does the...
Mary, Mary, quite contrary. How does your garden grow? With silver bells, cockle shells, and...
Pretty maids all in a row.
Yes. And the last was...
London Bridge.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down. My Fair Lady.
Yes. And it talks about all 3 of those, goes into the history of them. And this short's also kind of notable because for the time, the history that they showed was pretty accurate, but now our understanding of history is a little different. So Specifically, the Mary, Mary, Quite Contrary part of that one is a little incorrect now, because it's about Queen Mary of Scots.
Okay.
So our perceptions of what is historically accurate has changed since the 1950s.
What? Weird.
Weird, I know.
Never would have seen that coming.
But I just really like this short, and if you haven't seen it, you should check it out, because it's cool. And then 1958, which is where we're stopping, because I couldn't even find anything good enough to put on this list for 59, is Paul Bunyan.
Paul Bunyan from Disney as well. Who is it directed by?
Les Clark.
Les
so it's
Clark.
actually one of the 9 Old Men.
Cool. And it's the story of Paul Bunyan.
Yep, Disney doing another American folklore.
63 axe handles high.
Something like that.
Really tall guy got Babe the Blue Ox. He shaped America, yo!
The important thing to note about this short, though, is that the voice of Paul Bunyan is Thurl Ravenscott, who is also the voice of Tony the Tiger, and he sings the song You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch.
He's just got that amazingly great deep voice.
And he sings some songs in this. I'm like, oh yes, this is so good.
They're great!
They're so great.
Alright, is that our whole list?
So yeah, so those are all the shorts that we watched for this decade. If these didn't sound familiar to you, you might want to go check them out, because we're going to be talking about them. Most of these you can look up online, so have at it. So, as you can probably note, and plus we've already said this before, but we're really only looking at 3 studios this time around.
Disney,
UPA, and Warner Brothers.
Yeah. So
Or the Looney Tunes.
specifically the Looney Tunes.
Right. But Warner Brothers obviously produces them.
Mm-hmm.
And unintentionally, I actually got a fairly even list of shorts from each studio. So I feel like we got a pretty solid collection of things to look at. We got 6 shorts from Disney, 6 shorts from UPA, and then 8 from Warner Brothers. And honestly, there's like quite a few Warner Brothers shorts I could have added to this list. But Warner Brothers produced a lot of quality content in the 50s. Like, let's just be real.
Yeah. Okay, so one thing I want to bring up is during the last shorts episode, or for the last decade, I brought up that I did not understand why people like Looney Tunes so much, because all of those shorts were terrible, and or the characters were mean-spirited, and I didn't like it. That's not true this decade. I actually really...
Redacted!
I take that back. I understand. These shorts that we watched this time around were actually legitimately funny, and they weren't super mean-spirited or anything. It was just a lot of fun.
Well, and see, and I think another big thing to contribute to that is that these characters still are mean-spirited, but when they are, you're laughing at them, and they're getting their comeuppance. Like, Daffy Duck is always the butt of a joke. Mm-hmm. And he's obviously, like, the most mean-spirited one out of the Looney Tunes, debatably.
Probably?
Probably.
Pretty far up there, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's the one who's, like, the most brazen with his mean-spiritedness.
Mm-hmm.
But he has some fantastic shorts this decade. And I also attribute this to the fact that the majority of the all the shorts we watched from this decade that were by Warner Brothers were also directed by Chuck Jones.
All of them.
All of them.
As compared to last time.
What?
Lex time. I think I tried to say Tex Avery. And last time at the same time, so I got Lex Luthor.
As opposed to Lex Luthor, he can't direct worth shit.
Oh boy.
But no, Tex Avery, I know people love Tex, but man, I've not really seen a short of his that I'm just like, yeah, man, I love this, because I really don't. But Chuck Jones might not always hit the mark for me, but he hits way more often than he misses.
Mm-hmm. I mean, again, these are some of the ones that are the most memorable to people, and they're all directed by one guy.
Mm-hmm. And I guess I'm gonna just kind of talk about the history of Warner Bros. Here right away.
Okay.
Because when we talk about Disney and UPA...
There's a lot more back and forth there.
There's a lot more back and forth there to discuss, and then we can kind of, like, talk a bit more about Warner after that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's a coincidence that the golden age of Looney Tunes is from 1944 to 1964.
Okay.
Chuck Jones joined the Looney Tunes staff. Early 40s, he directed Dover Boys in 42.
Oh, okay.
And then Chuck Jones leaves Warner Brothers in 62, 2 years after the supposed golden age is over for Looney Tunes. I'm just saying. I think the guy kind of knew what he was doing. And that's not to say that, like, there weren't other people who
contributed
to that. Because, you know, I think so far in animation history, we've put a lot of credit towards certain people in the industry without giving credit to the people who actually did all the work.
Did a lot of the legwork.
Right. There's a really bad habit to do that in film in general, and it's no excuse to do that in animation.
It's like, man, that director and all their movies are great. And it's like, yeah, but what about the 7,000 people that actually worked on the film? Right.
It's like the director's only a small part of the process.
It's like a director alone cannot a movie make.
Right. It's a big part of it, but it's a big small part because there's still, like, lots of other people who work for you. I guess my biggest thing to point out with these is Disney and UPA aren't necessarily going for the laughs with their shorts. Like, they're gags, but Warner Brothers is just laughs.
Pure jokes.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they're aiming for. They're aiming to get the people, the watchers, to do the laughs.
To do the chuckles.
To do the chuckles, yes.
The chortles, the ho-ho-hos.
Hee hee ha ha ho ho ho.
Yeah. And unfortunately, also during, like, sorry, let me reword that. Most of the Looney Tunes cast appeared during the golden age of Looney Tunes, and unfortunately for us, we, like, did not even begin to cover seeing most of these characters, even in Animation Pilgrimage. Like,
yeah.
By this time, we've got Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner, which we haven't watched any of, and
that's a shame.
I know, I love Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner shorts.
Yeah,
they're
honestly,
some of my favorites.
It's like, I don't know if I've seen a whole episode, but the clips I've seen of Wile E. Coyote, good stuff.
Oh yeah, we ought to just, in some of our spare time, we ought to just watch some because they're good.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote are some of my favorites, but it's so hard to pick a short for that because all of them are, like, pretty par for quality, at least up to a certain point. Tweety Bird with Sylvester, Tasmanian Devil, Pepe Le Pew, Yosemite Sam, Marvin the Martian, who we did see, and then many others like Foghorn Leghorn and
Now see
Granny.
here. It's like you're naming all these characters. Like, oh yeah, I recognize these characters.
But see, that's weird because you recognize them, but you've not necessarily
seen a whole lot of their shorts. I've probably seen at least one short of all these people at one point in my life. I can't tell you when it was, but I remember watching some shorts. Like, I know I've seen a Foghorn Leghorn short. I know I've seen a Sylvester, Tweety Bird, and probably Granny short all in the same time. Because they all kind of live together,
yeah,
you know?
They do!
See, I know this stuff, and I didn't grow up with Looney Tunes.
It's just part of the culture.
It's so ingrained in the culture. You can't escape it. Mm-hmm. At least in America.
Yeah. So I think that pretty much wraps up some thoughts about Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get into Disney and UPA. So we've kind of touched on this before, but when we talked about 1001 Arabian Nights,
which is made after all of the shorts that we watched from UPA. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
That was like their climax for this decade. Mm-hmm. So we actually get context now. Which does, I mean, we'll need to talk about this after you give me all the deets, but it's like, we'll have to ask, does that make 1001 Arabian Nights better or worse? But give me the hot truth bombs, yo.
Okay, so UPA started in 1945.
Oh, okay.
And they were making some shorts. One of the shorts they even made was a political campaign short for Roosevelt, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It apparently did well, but not well enough to land on our radar of shorts to watch for the 40s.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's just so weird.
Uh-huh.
I mean, how often are you going to see a political campaign short as like, this is the best animated short ever, especially if someone from like the opposite side is like super into animation. Like, no, don't show that one. That's garbage.
You. But UPA finally got their big break when Columbia Pictures signed them on to play their shorts before their films.
There you go.
Initially, UPA was just contracted to work with Columbia's old characters, the Fox and the Crow, which were just like some stock characters Columbia had from the 20s or 30s.
Sounds like it, with names of the Fox and the Crow.
Exactly. But UPA did shorts with the characters, and they turned out so well that Columbia let them
Start creating their own.
Characters.
Like Mr. Magoo.
Exactly.
And all of the other characters that weren't necessarily characters in all the other shorts we watched.
Yeah.
Oh, except for the one. The McBoing Boing.
Right. So, actually, that's where I want to go back up here and talk about Gerald McBoing Boing.
Mm-hmm.
Because Gerald McBoing Boing was huge.
Okay.
Like,
He's one of those, when we were watching the short, it's like, I don't think I've ever seen this before, but I recognize this kid's design.
for how huge this short was, this is a bit of context for you. In 1995, it was selected for preservation in the U.S. National Film Registry for being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. Damn.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. To give more context on Gerald McBoing Boing, it is an adaptation of a Dr. Seuss work. I don't think it's a book, but it's something that Dr. Seuss made, and I mean, it's very, very Dr. Seuss.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And the style between UPA's, like, very graphic style and, like, the Dr. Seuss, writing fits very well. This is probably one of the best constructed shorts we watched from this decade. It's not one that I'm, like, particularly crazy about, but I totally understand.
Oh, it worked well, yeah.
Yeah, I totally understand why this one was huge. And in the book, The 50 Greatest Cartoons, as selected by 1,000 animation professionals by Jerry Beck, animation historian, can you guess where Gerald McBoing Boing rates?
1 through 5.
Not quite that high.
6.
It's number 9.
9. Okay.
But number 9 is still pretty damn high.
Of all shorts ever.
Yeah, and
Yep.
of the 50 greatest. It is...
As selected by these people.
Right, as selected by professional animators, so, they've got a bit of weight.
Yeah.
But yeah, number 9. That is pretty darn high.
It is high. Holy crap.
So, yeah, they had a huge success with Gerald McBoing Boing. And that was 1951. So they're, just getting started with this decade.
Mm-hmm.
And then they make Mr. Magoo, and, of course that character does insanely well.
Old cranky blind man.
Yeah. And the UPA style became something that every studio copied.
Mm-hmm.
Disney copied it, and you can see, when Disney copied it, because it's just,
All right.
night and day.
Toot, whistle, pluck, and boom.
Yeah, because, if we look at the Disney shorts we watch, we have Motor Mania, No Smoking, and then Toot, Whistle, Pluck, and Boom.
Where they went hard into the UPA super graphic style.
And everything after that has that influence as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as in your face as Toot, Whistle, Pluck, and Boom is, but Toot, Whistle, Pluck, and Boom, for being a style ripoff of UPA, also did fantastic when it came out, and it won an Academy Award for Best Short.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, from just looking at the shorts that we saw from UPA, we definitely see... I feel like we're seeing a lot more of that edginess like Warner Brother had in the 40s.
Yeah, this feels like UPA just ooh, we're gonna do edgy stuff. We're gonna do adult cartoons about murder trials. And actually, I will say the graphic stylings in that one specifically was really fun.
Like Rudy Toot Toot?
Rudy Toot Toot. Mm-hmm. The fact that every single time a new person came up to tell the story of how the murder went down, the entire color scheme changes.
Yeah, the color palettes completely change, and it's pretty, it's done very effectively.
Oh, yeah, it's everyone's a specific color, and then they all change when another person comes in, and then they all change again when another person comes in. It's really cool.
It's perfect for what it's trying to say, because it's saying everybody's point of view is different
as to what happened.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty clever. And that was exactly what UPA was selling. The fact that they were real artists, and the fact that, we have more artistic integrity, and we're telling, real stories.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
so, what you're supposed to do after UPA short is do this. As compared to clap.
I don't think that was the thing yet. I don't...
No, but you can tell that's what they're going for. They want to be art as compared to whatever the heck they considered anything else.
Yeah. Then we have their short, The Unicorn in the Garden, which I found a fun little fact about this one.
Okay.
So this was originally supposed to be part of a full-length live-action animation hybrid film called Men, Women, and Dogs. And my other note on that is, thank God we never saw that.
Yeah, that sounds great. Just going off the context of this specific short, where it's just blatant misogyny and making fun of women the whole time. Because first she's this evil nagging wife who's going to try to throw her husband in the loony bin.
Sick?
No, I think she's just lazy AF.
Okay.
Because she's just laying in bed all day and...
See, that just makes me assume that she's, ill. And, he's just being a real right asshole, because not only is he being a jerk, she's in bed sick.
Mm-hmm. I didn't get that she was sick. I thought she was just...
supposed to be portrayed as lazy and nagging.
Yeah, either lazy or just, not an early riser, because I felt like the whole short was taking place in the morning, but I might be wrong.
It's hard to say. That's one thing about UPA shorts, is when they really go ham on this, graphic style. I don't
get a lot of the details of like time
exactly.
and place are not necessarily specific. But in the end, she's like, my husband told me all these things, and the police are like, well, she's crazy, take her away.
Right.
As compared to, oh, we should definitely talk to the husband and see if he's actually crazy and take her word for it. No, they just automatically assume that she's the crazy one, and it's like, oh, jeez, no.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even have a... I'm trying to remember the short, but did the police even talk to the husband at all? Like,
oh, afterwards they're like, I have to ask you one question. Did you see a unicorn in the garden? And he's like, no, because they're fictional creatures.
Right, he says the exact same thing that she said to him
Yeah.
earlier in the short.
In
they're
just like a super like backhanded like,
smarmy way.
screw you lady type of thing. And like, I didn't care for that short.
Straight people are weird.
Yeah.
Anyway. Just gonna put that one out there. And then we got... Oh yeah, and then the Telltale Heart.
Mwah.
This was my favorite short out of like new shorts that I hadn't seen yet. Oh, so good. I'm definitely going to be recommending, like, I already recommend this one to all of you guys, but I'm gonna recommend this one like anytime
Yeah. Just like,
someone asks.
oh hey, if you haven't seen this short, go watch it, because it's amazing.
Yeah.
You like gothic features.
Yeah, the crazy thing about this one, the director, Ted Parmalee, looked him up. His only IMDb credit is this. I'm like, what?
Whoa.
That's such a shame. Like, what'd you do, Ted? You had a bright future in front of you.
Did you walk out? Didn't want it? Did you get kicked out? Did you die?
Did you die?
I mean, he's probably dead at this point.
Probably. And then after that, we watched the Magoo shorts, which I really don't have any additional commentary on. I feel like we talked enough about Magoo and 1001 Arabian Nights.
It's like, these were fine. I mean, the one thing that you did bring up in the 1001 episode is the fact that the graphic styles and like framing and everything in these shorts were so much better than the movie.
Oh yeah, like their whole composition is way better.
Everything about the composition in these was better than the full-length film, which is a bad thing.
Yeah, and I'd say the jokes were like pretty average. Like they're on par with the stuff that was done in 1001 Arabian Nights. However, I will say that when we watched these shorts, I was really missing Captain Hook.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, that being said, that voice actor was in one of the shorts we watched.
Yeah, he was. What was he in?
He was in the Nowhere Town.
That's right, the story of Ennisburg,
Yeah,
USA.
he's playing the villainous lawyer who's trying to convict the cars.
Yep.
So he's back again.
Yeah. Great voice actor. I just really enjoy him in general. Now I just kind of want to go into some additional information about UPA. Because this is probably one of the last few times we're going to talk about them.
Did they not make any more films?
They make one more film.
Okay.
And so we'll probably talk a little bit about it there, but like this really makes the most sense to talk about it here.
Because I mean, they seem to mainly just be a shorts company as compared to a
film
company.
Right. So the UPA attempted to get into the TV business as soon as 1955.
Oh wow. Well, I mean, yeah, okay, yeah, that's like middle of the road, yeah.
Yeah. But they never found success with the TV format, unfortunately. They attempted to make Mr. Magoo
into a TV show?
Into a TV show. Gerald McBoing. It was like a McBoing Boing show. And they made Dick Tracy.
Dick Tracy, that sounds so familiar.
It should. It's the detective in the yellow.
An actual comic book character. They turned him into a TV show.
Yes. And those were all produced by UPA, but none of them last longer than a couple of years. Because UPA just really was not a big enough studio to handle that big of a workflow.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
And because they were pushing themselves to get on TV and, like, put their brand out there and stuff, they ended
Everything
up
else
pushing
suffered.
way too far, and their animation got even more limited than it already was.
Oh, no.
And so then they kind of became artistic hacks in the community because, like, the quality of their work dropped severely. They were just overworked in general.
Oh, that's not good to hear.
Yeah. And so then other studios ended up outpacing them and doing their own stuff better. Like the next thing we'll be talking about here on Animation Pilgrimage.
Oh, yes, we'll be jumping into television shows in the next episode, and specifically
The Huckleberry Hound Show,
with
which...
created by Hanna-Barbera.
Yep.
And the one thing you know about Hanna-Barbera, even if you've really not seen any of their stuff, is their limited animation that's very inspired by UPA.
Very much so inspired by UPA. So, now to kind of just like break down what happened to this company after all
Things are
this.
falling into place. Oh my goodness. Like, my mind is just like, click the pieces. It's making a big old puzzle. I'm figuring it out.
Oh, well, let me
Oh, my
lay this
goodness.
one on you.
Okay,
Are you ready?
sure.
Okay, so by the 70s, the studio was pretty much dead. Columbia owned all the rights to the shorts produced by UPA,
Oh,
but UPA kept the rights to the characters until the year 2000.
okay.
In 2000, the rights were bought by Classic Media. And for those of you who don't know who Classic Media is where cartoons go to die. Classic Media owns
Literally just owns all kinds of dead media, right?
Yes, Classic Media owns, this is just some of their catalog, Casper the Friendly Ghost, Richie Rich, The Golden Books, Lassie, Lone Ranger, Underdog, Christmas Specials by Rankin Bass,
Oh,
Big Idea Studios,
right, yes. Who made Veggie Tales, by the way?
321 Penguins and Larry Boy, He-Man, Felix the Cat, Where's Waldo, Rocky and Bullwinkle, Mr. Peabody and Sherman, George of the Jungle, Voltron, and other such properties.
Now, do they still own all those properties, or have they been bought by other companies?
In 2012, DreamWorks Studios bought Classic Media.
Oh, okay, so
now,
yeah,
all
okay.
those properties belong to DreamWorks.
Which is why we now have the new Voltron show on Netflix, and many of those things have shown up in DreamWorks.
recent years, like the Mr.
Yeah.
Peabody and Sherman movie.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
But a lot of those still just kind of are sitting.
Well, and there's the new VeggieTales in the House Netflix show.
Is that still going?
I don't know. It was going a while ago. I don't remember.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah,
was
but
going.
they've got a whole bunch of Netflix shows now with some of these characters, I think.
Okay.
So yeah.
Oh boy.
And that's kind of where UPA ends. So if you ever want any more of this content, look to DreamWorks because, you know, they own all the rights. Yeah. So now that brings us back to Disney.
Disney.
So before they just take UPA's style, we do have those couple of shorts that are still like very traditional Disney, and they're both Goofy shorts. And this is the start of the Goofy everyman persona.
Yeah, because Goofy plays the part of every single character in these shorts, pretty much.
Right. It's essentially a world filled with Goofies.
So it's like none of the characters are referred to as Goofy. It's just this is what's his face, George
Yeah.
or Bill or whatever.
Well, and most of the time, his everyman persona is called George Geef.
Okay.
It's not in this first one, Motor Mania. They specifically refer to him as something else. He's Mr. Walker.
Yes,
Mr. Walker and Mr. Wheeler.
Yeah.
because it's a play on when he's out of his car and when he's in his car. So yeah.
It's a Jekyll Hyde thing, but with the car.
Yeah. What's really interesting about these Everyman shorts, though, is Disney's going very, very modern and almost doing, like, hot takes on society.
Yeah, honestly, like, these all are, like, about very current things, like the latest cars and everybody's smoking and just, like, I know in general, like, a lot of the other shorts around this time involving Goofy and stuff like that are doing this constantly. Like, I'm sure in this must have been the decade where a lot of the Goofy sports shorts came out?
The how-to Goofy shorts were in the 40s.
Oh, those were in the 40s, okay.
And fun fact there, Walt actually hated the Goofy shorts, which was another reason why he got, like, this redesign as the Everyman.
Oh.
To try and, like, do something new with the character.
Okay.
Which I just find so sad because I think the how-to Goofy shorts are really funny.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Well, you're right. We totally watched some of those.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have to excuse me, that was half a year ago, and we've watched a lot of animated media between now and then.
Yeah. A fun fact about Motor Mania.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if even younger people in our audience, so long as, you're 16 and you're taking driver's ed, you might actually still watch this short, because it is a short that is, like, often cited to be watched in driving ed classes. And this one's also like a trilogy of shorts. There's Motor Mania, and then there's two other ones about, like, freeway safety with Mr. Wheeler or George Geef or whatever. And this short film actually won the Bayer Trophy for Best Film on Traffic Safety.
That's really amusing, even though it shows, like, no safety whatsoever.
Right.
I mean, it's a warning against all of these actions.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is probably not the same character, but I just remember another Goofy short that must have been made during this time.
Uh-huh.
But he's got, like, water mania? Boat mania? I don't remember.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember exactly what they call it, but this character had, like, a red-headed child.
Yes.
Who is not Max.
Oh, yeah, no.
But, like, a different, like, Goofy child. It's just weird to think about.
Well, I think one of the best jokes, and we did not watch this short, but one of the best jokes to come out of Everyman Goofy, and this joke is so sexist, but it's so funny.
Okay.
Is the one where George Geef, Goofy, is being a Mr. Mom, essentially. And it's like, oh, well, the wife is out shopping for today. And, like, she leaves, and she's a terrible driver because, of course. But the joke is when the milkman stops by the house.
Yes.
Goofy, like, opens up the door, and the milkman, like, gives him a kiss. He's like, here's your milk. And Goofy just
stands there.
Like, oh my god.
With the look of, like, oh, I need to talk to my wife.
The timing is so good, and, like, it's just an implied joke. Mm-hmm. It's so funny.
Kids are never gonna get it, other than, like, tee-hee, a man kissed a man.
Right.
Which,
right.
But just, that's a joke for an adult audience.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But it's so funny. Oh gosh, now to bring it back on a downer, though.
Okay.
I already shared this tidbit of information with you, but this is about the no smoking.
Yeah.
So, Pinto Colvag was the voice of Goofy. And, he was Goofy's voice, I think, since the beginning. Mm-hmm. He was also one of actually a couple of the dwarves in Snow White and the Seven Dwarves.
Oh.
Like, he's worked with Disney for a long time. He was also the annoying guy in Gulliver's Travels.
Oh, right,
Remember
yeah.
when we talked about this a long time ago?
Yes, I remember that. All's
Gabby.
well.
Yeah, Gabby.
Wow, that was like movie, what, 4?
Yeah. So it's all coming together. But this short, No Smoking, is kind of poignant because Pinto Colvag was a longtime smoker and was suffering with lung disease at the time that this short was made. So very topical for him. But he was also a pioneer in the effort to acquire warning labels on cigarette packages. Pinto died of lung cancer in 1967, almost a year after Walt Disney died of the same thing.
Oh.
Smoking's bad, kids.
These are all downers, yo. Oh, but I mean, we'll definitely be talking more about Walt's death, I'm sure, next decade.
Oh yeah. Strap in, folks.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, Disney makes the transition to doing more UPA-styled stuff. But their shorts still mostly stay the same tone-wise.
Oh,
they're
still
either educational or slight topical commentary.
It's very strange when you think about it, because when you think about Disney shorts, you just think, oh, they're happy-go-lucky, slapstick, kind of silly cartoons or something. But it's like, no, more often than not, they're like pointing a finger at somebody.
Right.
On some topic or other.
Well, and part of that was public perception at that point. Disney, there's a quote of Walt walking out of To Kill a Mockingbird and saying, I wish my studio could create films like that. And I'm paraphrasing whatever he said. But essentially what he was saying is like, I've built myself such a brand at this point that I'm not allowed to create the art that I want to create anymore.
Yeah, and that sucks.
And so that's why these shorts are the way they are. Because the Disney animators weren't necessarily, like, they couldn't go off-brand. And the brand was morals, the brand was educational, the brand was America.
Safe.
And, like, how we want to present ourselves to our children and that kind of thing. Which obviously comes with positives and negatives. Like, I don't think it's fair to paint it all in a negative light or in a positive one. So the shorts are preachy and the shorts are educational. And I think we've got 2 shorts from the same year that are total opposites of each other and portray, like, the best and the worst of this mentality. Okay. And that's The Story of Anyburg, USA would be, like, the
super
case of
preachy.
the worst, because it's super preachy. It's a message that's, like, not even good or well thought out.
No, it's just like, oh, it was man.
Right.
Man's the villain.
And then we've got The Truth About Mother Goose, which is just a fun short. It's interesting. It's got great music. The art direction's really good. It's got this nice... It does tone and story in a way that only Disney at this point can do. Where it's got, like, these lovely haunting segments that never get too dark, but, like, they're still kind of creepy. And what's also funny about this short is that it's so Woolly Reitherman, because it's also one of the only shorts in this whole lineup of shorts here that reuses animation, and that's such a Woolly Reitherman thing to do.
Yeah, there's like multiple spots like, yep, that's reused, and yet that's reused, and that's also reused.
Yep.
And like, we haven't really talked about it a whole lot, but like you said, Woolly Reitherman just loves reusing animation.
Oh yeah, well, because at this time he's now a full-on director. And he's not animating anymore. And his philosophy was, like, if we animated it once, why do it again? Like, why, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Mm-hmm. Which is a smart, like, business-wise, but
then I feel like we listened to an audio commentary or something about it where one or two of the animators were pretty much saying, yeah, we get that, but it actually takes more time and effort to redo all of this animation than just doing it from scratch to start with.
Well, the big problem, and the person you're quoting is Floyd Norman.
Okay.
Who has a documentary that I think you can find on Netflix. Anyway, it's really good, and you should check it out if you haven't.
What's it called?
I mean, if you look up Floyd Norman documentary, you'll find it.
Okay.
Because there's only one. But the real thing that took so long about reusing animation is the fact that they would have to go back into the Disney archives and find it. Because, you know, like, sure, they had a filing system for stuff, but, I mean, this is not the computer age. You can't just, like, file search. Horse animation from Sleeping Beauty, from Ichabod and Mr. Toad. And, you know, oh, great, it pops up. Now let me just recolor it. No, instead, they had to go back into this library where hopefully it would be stored in the correct spot. It might not be. And then there would be, even if you found the correct spot, there would be a ton of all this animation, artwork, concept art, just animation cells, animation roughs, to go through to try and be like, well, I think that one time, didn't we animate a horse running at the screen from a, like, low camera shot? And someone's like, yeah, I remember animating that. Was it for this film? Yeah.
But was it part of this part of the film? Oh, jeez. That sounds terrible. So that's what took up so much time. So yeah, really not worth the effort, especially considering nowadays we can look back on all this stuff and be like, oh, wow, you know, you guys. It's just the exact same shot.
You're right.
You put like a dude in armor on the horse this time around, but it's the same evil looking horse running straight at the screen.
But you can totally understand where they were coming from at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Because, yet again, the idea of if it's not broke, don't fix it, and hey, this can save us time and money, where, you know, we already spend a lot to put these films out. So yeah.
Wow, so you did lay some truth bombs on me.
Oh wait, there is one more thing we have to talk about.
What do we got? What?
I want to bring special attention to animator Jack Kenny.
Okay.
Who animated the 2 Goofy shorts we talked about earlier. And then he left Disney after 27 years. And he left in 1958. And he went on to direct 1001 Arabian Nights at UPA.
Oh my goodness.
But, and then he went on to be a story director at Hanna-Barbera Studios.
Oh, wow, he jumped around there for a bit.
But I don't know if you necessarily remember his name, but...
I don't.
The shorts, like, pretty much majority shorts that we've watched that have featured Mickey, Donald, or Goofy have been directed by Jack Kenny.
Huh. Well, that's neat.
Yeah, he was the Donald Duck director and the Goofy director. And along with a lot of other things. There's some shorts we didn't watch in here that I know you've seen before, like the Pigs is Pigs, just a whole bunch of Disney shorts.
Okay.
He is the Disney shorts guy. And his work was influential enough that he won a Winsor McKay Award in 1983 for his lifelong contribution to animation.
Sweet.
And then in 88, he published his own autobiography, which is like just a really tiny book of like illustrations.
Of course.
That's Walt Disney and assorted other characters, an unauthorized account of the early years at Disney. And I've not read it, but it sounds really interesting. I'd like to pick it up at some point.
Interesting, yeah.
And then he died, I think, later that year or a few years later. But, like, a guy that does not get talked about because he's not one of Disney's 9 old men, but definitely deserves some mad respect.
Yeah, I would say
for his
so.
work.
Because, yeah, sounds like he did a lot.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this still ended up turning out to be a long episode, but I hope that this format was enjoyable for you guys. We will see you again for more shorts in the 60s, because I was looking it up. We were wondering if we were going to do shorts.
Uh-huh.
And just looking at what's coming up in the 60s, I think we're going to do another shorts episode.
Okay.
At the end of the 60s.
We'll get to that when we get to that, I guess.
Yep.
But next time on Animation Pilgrimage, we are jumping into TV shows, right?
Yep.
We're jumping into all the early television shows, and it'll probably be a similar-ish format to what we just did.
Sort of.
Who knows? We'll figure it out next time.
We gotta figure this one out because we haven't done the TV shows yet, so this will be a learning process.
But join us back here as we jump into that good old video killing the short star. Sorry, that was a bad joke. I tried to make it work.
I'm just staring at you.
Video killed the radio star.
Short star. Anyway, see you guys next time.
Toodles.
Quite contrary to the end.
Mary, Mary, quite contrary. How does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and pretty maids all in a row.